Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, July 5th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Mr. Jonah Booker in just a moment. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July yesterday. It's pretty much just going to bleed into the whole weekend. I'm curious if you guys are into the grill game. What was on your grill yesterday? Maybe what are you going to put on your grill today, the rest of the weekend? We're going to finish the show with a little fun stuff, talking about that. We're going to start the show talking about Riley Pettijohn. He's going to make his decision tomorrow. The talented, very high 4-star linebacker from Texas will make his decision tomorrow. We'll get J-Book's vibes on that and much, much more. As far as the 2024 team itself, we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about the running backs, who's going to carry the ball most. If they both stay healthy between Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, in big games, are they going to rely on one or the other more? Is it going to be basically split? We're going to get into all that. And again, hopefully they just stay healthy. But I do want to let you guys know about our returning sponsor, Factor Meals. As soon as I can find my read copy here. Don't you love live podcasts? There we go. You guys know I love Factor Meals. As we were saying, with Dan and I on Monday, this is not the microwave meals we grew up with. They're fresh, not frozen, and it's high quality and tastes great. Ready in 2 minutes. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore, such as filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened chicken, blackened salmon. I just love it. Blackened salmon, blackened chicken, shrimp, filet mignon. They have a bunch of other stuff. Like I said, 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. They switch it up. Head to factormeals.com/Bucknuts50. Use code Bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code Bucknuts50 at factormeals.com/Bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. All right, let's bring in the man himself. It's been too long. I was on vacation. I haven't seen my guy in like 3 weeks. Good to see you, JB.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'll be doing better if Riley Pettijohn picks the Buckeyes tomorrow. What's your vibe there? Very high 4-star linebacker, of course, from Texas. It looks like it's going to be down to Ohio State, USC, Texas, maybe A&M. What's your vibe here, my friend?
I think this one will go our way, Dave. We took a couple on the chin this past week, but I think this one comes Saturday will go the boys' way. I like where Ohio State stands, Dave, just kind of reading the tea leaves, checking out what the Texas vibe is, reading some of their 24/7 content. The Texas mods and their staffing over there, they've removed their crystal ball off Texas. And basically, they're saying there's a lot of momentum for the Buckeyes coming down the stretch here. With these recruitments, Dave, it's hard to tell. You could be leading on Friday today, and then somebody can get absolutely desperate at the last minute before the decision and just throw a tremendous bag. But this one, when you're talking about Ohio State versus USC, Dave, you're talking about an Ohio State defense stats coming back that was top 5 last year versus a Lincoln Riley defense. When's the last time USC and Lincoln Riley has played any type of defense? LA's cool and all, and you have a lot of things going on out there. There's a lot of opportunities for NIL-wise. He's going to be taken care of regardless in Columbus, but you're going to have an opportunity to learn from James Laurinaitis. You're going to have an opportunity to play in the Jim Knowles defense that will get you ready to play for the next level, a defense that will be top 10 and a defense that will have you competing at the highest level. So I look for this situation for James Laurinaitis to get a big-time win here. And if he does, Dave, wow, what a recruiting haul for James Laurinaitis at the linebacker position. You and I talked about this, when Brian Hartline first, got on the staff and he was recruiting lights out. A lot of people said James Laurinaitis has the potential to be really, really good as a recruiter on the trail. Once he's allowed to hit the trail, getting Pettijohn and TJ Alford with Lee from in-state as your 3 linebackers, that is an absolutely tremendous haul.
I like knowing that your vibe is positive on this one. I like that you're thinking, and you're right. It changes day to day. I mean, I did this show on Wednesday thinking I thought the Buckeyes. I mean, I said it wasn't etched in stone, and I wasn't shocked that Justin Hill wasn't a Buckeye. But I said I'll be surprised if Justin Hill doesn't pick the Buckeyes, and so I was. I was surprised until I heard his reasoning. And by the way, I don't think that's a long way from being over. By the way, the fact that he plays that hybrid role, and Ohio State says they use it, but they really don't. And, Alabama's coaching staff, they're the one that was at Washington. They've proven that they will use it. So I get it there.
Right.
Okay, let's just go there right now. Your thoughts on Justin Hill picking Bama over Ohio State. Were you surprised? And do you think the Buckeyes still have a chance here?
I do think they still have a chance. You keep working that recruitment, especially an in-state kid like that. He may have committed to them, but you just keep chiseling away. Try to get him up for a game, and you keep the communication going. Now, when we're talking about the recruitment, I do think there were some errors on Ohio State's part. You were always going to be fighting an uphill battle when it comes to the jack position. Keep in mind, this kid, Dave, from day one has said, I am not a hand in the dirt defensive end. That's not my game. That is not what I want to do at the next level. That is not my body type. That is not, what I want to be in somebody's collegiate defense. And lo and behold, down the stretch, Ohio State, from Dave, you and I have been hearing, there's been some mixed communication about where he's going to play, whose room he's going to be in, how he's going to be utilized, comparing him to a Chase Young, which to me, and we talked about this on the spaces earlier with Zeke, Larry telling Hill that he's going to be the next Chase Young. That right there, as a recruit, that raises a red flag, because you're like, wait, hold on now. I'm not a Chase Young type of prospect, Larry. Like I've been telling you guys from the start, I am not a 4-3 hand in the dirt defensive end. I'm a hybrid type of player. I want to be able to play a little bit of linebacker. I want to be able to get after the quarterback, bend that arc a little bit. In the Alabama's defense, they call it the Wolf package, which they have tape. They have Dallas Turner. They have Will Anderson, guys that they put in the first round utilizing that position. When you look at Ohio State, we've been talking about the jack position since Jim Knowles got here. Now, we can be spoiled and say, hey, should we be complaining that we don't see the jack when you have a top 10 defense already? You can circle back and say, hey, continue to do what is working right now. And you have an elite defense without using the jack. But I do think if we're talking about getting into the nuts and the bolts of the defense, I do think that having a multi-front look will help them. It will help the offenses. It will help the defense when it comes to offense, saying, hey, they're going to be in a four-man front 99.9% of the time. So having some body types like Arvell Reese, CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles, Mitchell Melton, those type of guys where you can actually utilize them to help play the jack position, that can give you the opportunity to really show it off for a recruit to say, hey, look, we got some production here. Now, come on home, big guy. Come on home. So I do think that, there were some small mistakes on the recruiting trail. Keep in mind, Larry Johnson wasn't involved in this recruitment until, towards the latter part, whereas in Alabama, that was kind of his best relationships. I know during the recruiting season, Alabama sent their defensive line coach, everybody as far as their staff up there to Winton Woods to visit this kid. And then at that moment, boom, Larry Johnson is on the trail. He's on the visit, whereas it was kind of Jim Knowles and James Laurinaitis that was running the point when that recruitment. So once you start, getting the messages mixed, the wires crossed there, when one coach is saying you're going to be in this room, one coach is saying you're going to be in that room, that right there, if you're Hill, just saying, I'm going to have to trust these guys on blind faith when I've never seen them utilize the position that I want to play in college. And two, I'm having to, I'm still confused about who I'm going to play for. Am I going to play for Larry or I'm going to play for James? Whereas Alabama, I know I'm going to be in the wolf position. I know who's going to be coaching me and who's going to be utilizing my skill set, which I've seen Dallas Turner go in the first round. I've seen Will Anderson go into the first round. Sorry, Dave, that was long-winded, but it was,
I'm
there's a
here
lot
for
to
it.
unpack when it comes to that recruitment.
Heck yeah. And let's not be done being long-winded here because I wanted to get to this. But then I was going to ask you a similar question here. So Michael on Facebook, I like this. Why do people feel like they're licking their wounds? Recruiting is on fire. Not all recruits are meant to be Buckeyes. It's just we're prisoners of the moment. I get it. But I agree with Michael here because this class, it's not just they're ranked number 1 in the country. They still have the highest player ranking, average player rating of the teams that are really in the mix to finish with the number 1 spot. But yeah, Dorian Brew goes elsewhere. Then Justin Hill goes elsewhere. We don't know what's going to happen with Pettijohn, although we're feeling pretty good about it. So it's just things ebb and flows. But like I am with Michael here. I mean, Ohio State recruiting, I'm not worried about it at all. In fact, it really couldn't be going much better. And I believe in this staff. As you were mentioning, James Laurinaitis is going to be the next Brian Hartline as far as a recruiter. Tim Walton. I have full, and I know that's a bold statement. I have full confidence in him. So I'm with Michael here, man. I'm not even close to like being like frustrated about recruiting. Buckeyes are sitting here with the number 1 class in the country.
I will say this. It does sting when you're talking about an in-state kid, Dave. All the crystal balls were they were to Ohio State. Leading up to that announcement, you started to see, the Oregon guys flipping their crystal ball to Ohio State. And that's kind of once you start seeing guys flipping crystal balls, you're like, okay, we're feeling pretty good about that. And then get rug pulled at the very last minute on the 11th hour and start seeing those crystal balls being flipped from the hometown team, their home state team to Alabama. That's somewhat of a gut punch. But it's recruiting, Dave. If you go over to the Alabama boards, when they miss a top recruit, their fans are up in arms, think it's the end of the world because they missed a top recruit. You venture over to the Texas board, they're writing think pieces about what's going wrong on Texas recruiting right now because they're getting body bagged by Oregon. Oregon's hitting everybody right now. So you look at Oregon 2 weeks ago when Fahim committed to Ohio State, the safety out of Maryland. Oregon people were up in arms because they were struggling on the recruiting trail when it comes to the defensive back. So it happens with every fan base. And speaking of Oregon, you see Bruce Feldman talking about Uncle Phil Knight, saying that he's throwing a considerable amount of resources to them. He wants to see a national championship before he passes on. That right there tells you Oregon is in the game, deep pockets. And once Uncle Phil starts putting that Nike money on the backs of them, man, that's like an absolute motor, a rocket ship to that program. So I'm not surprised Oregon's doing so well after hearing that Phil Knight is absolutely all in to make sure that they get a national championship before he passes away or something. I don't know if Phil's sick. I don't want to speculate or anything, but I thought it was interesting that Feldman said that.
Yeah, he's got to be in his 80s, I would think, right? I mean,
yeah.
This is where I wish I had a producer. Producer, can you look that up for me real quick? Let's see. Phil Knight. I'm going to be my own producer here as usual. Phil Knight. Let's see, Wiki. I'm going to guess 81. Where are we at here? He is 86.
Wow. See?
86.
See? So now it makes sense. He could be in perfectly good health, man, but you're 86, you're up there, and he pretty much plays general manager to Oregon's program. They got a brand new indoor facility that's being built, and he is going to make sure that that program has a slush fund of NIL. And so when they coming into the Big Ten, Dave, they're going to want to make a big splash that first year to kind of set the tone for them, and especially with the 12-team playoffs. So with him, gifting them however much they need in order to, pretty much be the highest bidder when it comes to some of these recruits, that right there tells you that they're not messing around.
All right, let's switch gears. I want to talk some 2024 Ohio State. Last time I checked, this season's almost here, and this is a really good roster. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the running backs. I believe we've talked about this before, but I'm curious now that we're getting closer to the season. Not against Akron, not against Western Michigan, my friend, but when the chips are down in a big game, right, and big games, we can bunch them together. Both Travion and Q are healthy. Do you think they're just going to be splitting carries? I'm not saying it has to be 50-50, but roughly splitting carries. Do you think it's going to be a situation where, like, eventually one of those guys is going to move ahead of the other and at least get more carries than the other in big games? And who might that be?
That's a tough one, Dave, because we're kind of projecting and forecasting what Coach Loughlin's going to do here. I mean, I know he come out and said, hey, they're going to be a nasty 1-2 punch, kind of split it. But when you're just thinking about the natural game of football, Dave, you have to keep in mind that for two running backs to have a hot hand, that means that your offensive line is throwing people out of the club. They're getting to the second level. They're just mauling people. So I will say that when it comes to the end game, especially the big games, Dave, it's going to be contingent on who's running the ball better. If Henderson's popping off 6 or 7 a touch, and then in that particular game, the other running backs that aren't seeing it and they're bouncing it, they're dancing it, and they're getting, TFLs, then you're going to ride with Henderson. So I just think that, initially you're going to start the game, making sure both guys get their touches, making sure both guys are getting into the groove. As you progress into the third, fourth quarter late, you're going to have to, get on the headsets if you're locked on and say, hey, okay, who's running it? Who's looking good? Who has a better feel for the game? And it could be, changing week by week, Dave. You look at, if we're up in Eugene, Oregon, and, Judkins is running well come fourth quarter, then you got to ride Judkins. If we get into Penn State game, Henderson's running the ball extremely well, you ride Henderson. But I think when you first start the game, you're going to make sure that you're making sure both guys get the touches. What we got there, Dave? What?
Mrs. Sanchez is saying they are not playing about the money. If you guys could hear some of the conversations, you guys would see things differently.
She talking about Oregon. Yeah. Mrs. Sanchez talking about Oregon. See, I know it. I already know it, Dave. And we've been hearing it out there like, hey, right now Oregon is not playing games. When you got that Nike money, as the wind behind your back, man. Right now, think about it, Dave. We know what Jeremiah Smith, was what he's valued at, and and it's not a secret. Brian and the foundation, they've made it known what they've paid Jeremiah Smith, and he is well taken care of. Decorian Moore is the number 1 wide receiver in the country, out of Texas. Texas has deemed him a top priority, like must-get type of guy. They view him down there in Texas as, that next wave of uber-talented wide receiver ones for their roster. Texas got that oil money, Dave. They're not short on change at all. No. If you go in there and you're going band for band with Texas oil money, that right there should tell you what those guys are working with up there in Oregon.
Plenty more to get to. I'm going to get our last read out of the way so J-Book can laugh at me. And then we're going to talk more Ohio State football. And then we're going to end the show real quick talking about what's on the grill, what was on the grill yesterday. What do you guys like grilling if you're into grilling? I tell you one thing. I know Patrick Murphy's into grilling and Joy Mode. Jeez, Pat loves the Joy Mode. Wait a little too much, but hey, it's a sponsor. We're happy for him. I think I speak for most men when I say we want to have better sex. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. The issue is that over-the-counter erection pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That's why we partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode. Steve Hellwagon's another one. He's thrilled we did this. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural, science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Go to usejoymode.com/bucknuts and get 20% off with code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with code Bucknuts at usejoymode.com/Bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. I can't even. Okay, I can't wait to see the smile. There it is. Yes.
You give me every show, Dave.
Here we go. I said we gotta get J-Book on the show to get his knowledge, and I have to make him laugh at some point. All right, there we go. There was one from Lynn's Breezy. By the way, welcome back, Lynn's. Good to see you. I want to get to this. She says, I have some concerns about Will Howard leading us to a W in whiteout conditions. What are your thoughts? Let's say it is Will Howard, not just Penn State, but overall, what's your confidence level, Jay Book, in Mr. Will Howard as the starting quarterback this year, if it happens?
I mean, if we have it as a 1 through 10 type of scale, right now I'm at 6, 7, Dave. I'm not going to go overly homer on that. We definitely need to see it from Will Howard. I think he has the potential to be really good. When you look at those first 5 games leading up to Oregon, he's going to probably put up ridiculous stats here. And we probably still won't know a whole lot about him because of who he's playing against. But, you look at Ryan Day, and maybe it's just me putting a significant amount of trust in Chip Kelly. I think Chip Kelly's going to get this kid right. I think Chip is going to make sure that he's playing within the confines of the offense. He's going to be able to make some things happen with his legs. I know he said when he first came here, he wanted to, dial back the running, but, it's going to be part of the offense. Devin Brown went on the Bobby Carpenter podcast this past week, and he talked about how Chip Kelly has implemented a prolific rushing attack. And on top of that, they're going to be utilizing the quarterback's legs. So having a guy, with his size, 6'6", 240, being able to pull that ball on the zone read, if he can make the right decisions, he's going to be dangerous. The big question to me, Dave, is with this wide receiver core, is he going to be able to stretch the field with his arm, number one? And number two, you're going to get a lot of one-on-one coverages. With the running backs that you have, you're going to start to see safeties heels sitting at the 10-yard marker, 10 yards deep, trying to tee off on those running backs, because if this rushing attack is going to be as prolific as we think it's going to be, that's going to allow JJ and those wide receivers, Carnell Tate, all of those guys are going to get one-on-one coverage. They're going to be open. Can Will Howard 1, 2, 3, boom, fire that ball right there in a window to be able to give these wide receivers the opportunity to get that yak? Because when you're stacking the defense there, you're stacking the line of scrimmage. That right there is going to, open it up, and the quarterback is going to have to step up big time. And right here, October 12th is shaping up for a big day of college football. That's going to be one of the biggest days that we've ever seen. And I will say this, Dave, that's going to be the litmus test for Will Howard when he goes to Oregon, how he performs. Because if he goes up there and he really stinks up the joint, I think that will be the time that you could potentially see a quarterback change. Because those first 5 games, when you look at that schedule, you're going to see Devin Brown. You're going to see both quarterbacks. And if Devin Brown stays healthy, has a little bit of momentum, and Will Howard doesn't play well up there at Oregon because they have a bye week right after that Oregon game, that's when you can probably hear some noise about a potential shakeup. So those first 5 games, he's going to put up gaudy stats. When he goes to Oregon, that's going to be the big test. After that, the schedule starts to get a little tougher. Can he lead this team to a championship? I'm at a 6. I'm at a 7. We can probably get to an 8. You start to get that little creeping in once he starts going for 80 on the ground, 240, 250 in the air. Ohio State's winning by 45 points those first 5 games. You start feeling good. You're like, hey, we got something here. And then you start to, maybe Will Howard can lead us to a national championship, but you still have to kind of temper those expectations when you look at those first 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's crazy how the schedule is going to heat up. Even Iowa, Iowa coming here, I think the Buckeyes are going to be more than fine. But Iowa has a lot of starters back this year. If Cade McNamara can just be, decent, and their new offensive coordinator can be not horrible, Iowa could be solid. But I still think it's a 3-game regular season, and it won't really start until that Oregon game. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, I want to get to this too. Robert on Facebook, how is summer conditioning going? Hopefully everyone stays healthy. Now, I have not heard anything specific. Oh, this guy is just crushing summer conditioning. But I take this approach after all these years on the beat with summer conditioning. No news is good news. Right. It's like when I hear things, it's usually like if I hear something that's like concrete, it's usually like, hey, did you hear this guy got hurt? And I'll check on with the source. Like, oh, yeah, did you hear about so-and-so? He's going to be out for a little bit. Like, I haven't heard any of that. Now, it's still relatively it's not really early in summer conditioning. I shouldn't say that. They're about halfway through, but I'm in the no news is good news camp, and right now I'm getting no news on that, JB.
Yeah, you're right. I do know that the social media, Ohio State social media, they tweeted out a couple times like their top performers of the week. Jeremiah Smith was in there back-to-back weekends or back-to-back weeks as one of the top performers. So that kind of tells you where they're at. And I was thinking to myself, Dave, how different times have changed. You remember, covering Urban and even Tressel, like during those summer times, and the coach would tell you, like, they're sitting on pins and needles hoping guys don't get in trouble. Like you remember like the Bradley Roby BB incident, like the Storm Klein summer issue, like the Carlos Hyde. There are so many like different, the whole parking lot thing. And like there were so many different storylines throughout, Tressel and Urban Meyer. Now you look at this group here. I've watched almost every interview like some of these players have went on throughout this offseason. And to a man, all of them are saying, when we got free time, we're hitting the golf links. Like we're out there playing 18 holes, as a group. And that's kind of our bonding thing. Like that's what we do is, we're not spinning the block, like getting, causing riffraffs. Like these guys are saying, hey, we're going out here to go golfing. And so everybody on the team's kind of got that golf bug right now. So I thought it was like, well, man, how the times have changed. Like these guys are getting well taken care of in Columbus. Pockets are fat. All of these guys have, their lease cars and stuff. And they're just like, hey, let's go play a hole 18, or I got a reservation here. Let's, force them. Let's go out here and hit some links. So I think it's pretty cool though that, these guys are competing still with each other, but they're taking it to the golf course.
One more question for Jay Book, then we're going to get into, what we like on the grill. All right. Brian on Facebook. A lot of questions from Facebook today. Any word on the David Sanders Jr. recruitment? You hearing anything on that front?
Think we're probably looking at an mid-August commitment here. I think Ohio State's sitting in a good spot. I will say this: it's a must-win game a must-win recruitment for Justin Fry. He desperately needs this recruitment. I will say this about Ohio State: they have probably done everything that they can to win this battle. They have a great relationship with him and his family. He wants to get into the medical field post football. When he came up to his visit, the coaching staff did a brilliant job getting him FaceTime with some of the deans into the medical departments and say, hey, this is our plan for you. And I think that's really cool. And that's kind of one of the undertold stories, Dave, that Ryan Day is able to collaborate kind of with the academic side to say, hey, we have a kid who's, wants to be part of this actual program here. Can you put a presentation together for him to say, hey, this is how, once he becomes part of this department, how we're going to be able to take care of him. I thought that was really, really cool. And David Sanders' sisters, one of them, they did a movie night for her to make sure that she's well taken care of. The other one is coming up as a potential volleyball star. So what did Ryan Day do? He reached out to the women's volleyball program and say, hey, she's an upcoming, star. Can you have some of the ladies come over, take care of her, show David Sanders' sister some of the facilities? So there are some pictures out there that David Sanders had put out there with the women's volleyball team, taking the little sister under their arms, taking her over to the facilities, showing her the ropes of the collegiate. So I think that's really, really cool. And that was the post-visit comments. The parents talked about how Ohio State hit it out the ballpark, especially when it comes to the deans in the medical department meeting with him, as well as everything that they also has set up for his sisters. So I think there you go. Mrs. D saying the volleyball ladies coming was awesome. So I think that was really, really good by Ohio State staff. So they've done everything that they can right now, Dave. We just need Justin Fry to hold on for this next 2 months, month. We're already in July. I'm losing track. So we still got another month. Yeah, time is flying, man. Camp would be opening up here pretty soon, and Big Ten Media Days would be starting here right around the corner. So yeah, he's going to be making a decision fairly soon. And I will say this: if they can get Sanders with Carter Lowe, that's probably the best 1-2 punch at the tackle positions in all of football. I like the Cook kid from in-state. I think he's going to be a future junkyard dog. Now, if you get your 2 premier tackles, you can go and take your time, see some guys that have maybe had a better senior season than a junior season, go back, dial that tape in, and then try to get 1 or 2 more linemen, because they still want 5 offensive linemen, Dave. That's going to be a battle to get 5 offensive linemen. But if you can get David Sanders in there, and keep in mind, Dave, they also spelled his name right at the dinner.
I didn't call him Davis.
David Sanders. Hey.
They got the women's volleyball, and the women's volleyball team at Ohio State's very good too.
Yeah.
They got the women's volleyball team coming over to take care of us. That is a really cool thing. And they didn't spell his name wrong. David is a very hard name to spell. I would know. It's a hard name to spell. David. That's so funny. They called him Davis Sanders. All right. Great stuff. And then we're going to finish the show with this. All right. I'll go to you first. Now, are you a grill guy? Do you like grilling out? And if so, what was on your grill? What's going to be on your grill? Or
yeah,
your brothers. What do you like grilling out the most?
I'm a grill guy, Dave. Throw me some steaks on the grill, man. Hey, slow and steady. Get that, get a little crisp on there on the ends there. But I'm definitely a grill guy. The kid though, he wanted a hot dog, so whatever. Get your little hot dog and your cheeseburger. Make you happy. As long as you're eating, I'm good with it. But I'll myself, give me some steaks, man. Throw a little baked potato on there on the grill with some mixed vegetables. I'm good to go.
Do you lean one way or the other as far as your favorite steak? Like, I'm a ribeye guy. Not that I'd kick a T-bone out of bed or anything like that, but I love ribeyes. That's my favorite.
I'm a sirloin, and if I want to be bougie, man, I get a little fillet that I'll sear it up on the stove and stuff.
Okay, yeah, but you can't. I like a charcoal grill.
Yeah,
I like steak, ribeye specifically. Man, chicken, just regular chicken tenders or even chicken breasts, like straight off a charcoal grill, very underrated in my opinion. I need to get into baby back ribs. That's one thing I really need to get into. But yeah, the other thing I am going to be grilling, I didn't grill it. I had like a little preamble yesterday, a little pregame yesterday with just a couple of steaks and dogs and whatever. Those Johnsonville sausages with the cheese inside of them, cheddar cheese, real cheddar cheese inside of the sausage. Those are fantastic. Yeah. Those will be on the grill today. But I'm a ribeye guy, and I love grilling out, corn on the cob, all that good stuff. Oh, I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. All right, great stuff out of Jonah Booker. You always come strong. Thank you very much, my friend. Hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. And same to all of you. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of your Hollywood weekend. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to J Book. Thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend.